Up first, election news from Punjab and on the Congress, where there were some dramatic developments. Congress leader Rahul Gandhi today said the party will announce a chief minister candidate in Punjab if the party or its workers want it. He also announced this at a virtual rally in Jalandhar during his day-long visit to the state, which also included a visit to the Golden Temple in Amritsar. Now, earlier on stage, before Rahul Gandhi came on, Navjot Sidhu, true to his style, made a dramatic statement where he said, "Give me decision-making power, don't treat me like a showpiece." Following this, the Chief Minister Channi then made an attempt at unity, calling Sidhu closer and asked for the Chief Minister face to be decided and said that Arvind Kejriwal was watching these developments closely.
दूसरियां पार्टियां वाले तंज कसदे कि इन्हां दी बरात दा लाड़ा कोई नहीं ना आपसी लड़ाई है। सिद्धू साहब उरे आके खड़ो जरा। ऐਵੇਂ कोई कहे कि कोई लड़ाई है, कुर्बानी देवांगा, हर हाल दे विच पंजाब दे लोकां दे बेहतरी वास्ते एक अच्छी सरकार देने वास्ते मूहरे खड़ांगा, कांग्रेस पार्टी दे नाल चलांगा। ऐसी इकट्ठे है, इकट्ठे रहांगे, पंजाब वास्ते लड़ांगे, पंजाब वास्ते मरांगे।
और मैं छाती ठोक के कहना, अज पंजाब दे लोग पुछदे आ कि भाई इस एजेंडे नूं लागू कौन करू, बंदा किहड़ा देओगे, चेहरा किहड़ा देओगे, बोलो सही है कि नहीं है। असीं सारे इकट्ठे आ, असीं टीआरपी लिए नहीं लड़ रहे, अगली सरकार बनाने के लिए लड़ रहे हैं महाराज। और अगली सरकार बनाने लिए नीहां च भी चिंडदी नवजोत सिंह सिद्धू जे उफ कर गया, लेकिन निर्णय लैण की ताकत दईओ, भावें कोई निर्णय होए, बस दर्शनी घोड़ा ना बना दिओ, बाकी सब ठीक है।
अगर कांग्रेस पार्टी चाहती है, क्योंकि आमतौर से हम ये नहीं करते हैं, मगर अगर कांग्रेस पार्टी चाहती है और कांग्रेस पार्टी का कार्यकर्ता चाहता है और पंजाब चाहता है, तो फिर हम चीफ मिनिस्टर का निर्णय आपके लिए ले लेंगे, अपने कार्यकर्ताओं से पूछकर, और जो सही व्यक्ति होगा वो पंजाब को आगे ले जाएगा।
All right, UP News 9 was focused Western UP today for the BJP with Home Minister in Mathura. The UP Chief Minister was in Bijnor. Shah launched a sharp attack on Samajwadi Party Chief Akhilesh Yadav, saying electing him would mean a return to Gunda Raj in Uttar Pradesh. He also said UP elections decide the future of the country. Meanwhile, RLD Chief Jayant Chaudhary on his part hit out over the BJP's overtures to him, saying he wasn't a coin to be flipped so easily.
The BJP on its big West UP outreach on Thursday. Battling the unpopularity perception, appeasing the Jats, even temple hopping. The mega blitzkrieg a day after an offer to RLD Chief Jayant Chaudhary to switch sides, an offer met with strong denial. The BJP strategy for West UP is a political cocktail which has Jat outreach, highlighting the SP as a Muslim appeasing party, talking about law and order comparisons, and the showstopper, temple talk, complete with Amit Shah's visit to Banke Bihari at Vrindavan.
ये यूपी के चुनाव को विधायक का चुनाव मत समझिए, किसी को मंत्री मुख्यमंत्री बनने का चुनाव मत समझिए। उत्तर प्रदेश का चुनाव आने वाले देश में भाग्य का, भारत के भाग्य का निर्णय करने वाला चुनाव।
The opposition feels these tricks will not work.
और आज जो सरकार चल रही है, आपने वो दृश्य देखे, कोई छोटी बात नहीं जो पटना में इलाहाबाद में हुआ। नौकरी नहीं दे सकते तो लाठी क्यों दे रहे हो?
Farm leader Rakesh Tikait, who hails from West UP's Muzaffarnagar, too felt polarization won't work.
हिंदू, मुस्लिम और जिन्ना ये 2.5 महीने के पैरोल पे है, ये तो सब खत्म होगा। ये गाड़ी पुरानी होगी, ये चलने वाली अब नहीं है।
सरकार ने अच्छा काम किया है, ये पूरा काम हो रहा है, जैसे गेट बना हुआ है मंदिर का, ये सब सरकार की तरफ से ही हो रहा है। योगी जी 19 बार आ चुके हैं मथुरा में, अच्छा काम कर रही है सरकार, बढ़िया। यहाँ से बीजेपी की जाएगी।
The BJP's Mathura candidate and Power Minister Shrikant Sharma, though, feels development is the focal point of the polls.
अब उत्तर प्रदेश की पहचान उजाला है, अब अंधेरा नहीं है। समान रूप से सभी जिलों को हम लोग 24 घंटे जिला मुख्यालय को, 18 घंटे गांव को, 20 घंटे तहसील को बिजली दे रहे हैं। मंदिर का निर्माण हो रहा है, मंदिर का निर्माण इसलिए हो रहा है कि सनातनी सरकार में है, सनातनी आज देश में और प्रदेश में सत्ता में है। तो हम 20% की राजनीति नहीं करते, हम 100% की राजनीति करते हैं, क्योंकि सबको साथ लेकर चलना है और भारत को विश्वगुरु बनाना है।
Amit Shah's temple visit is a sign of how the BJP will continue to strengthen Hindutva as its pole plank. It is ensuring that in its tough battle in western UP, all its biggest faces reach out to the public in all possible ways. In Mathura, with camera person Manoj Thakur and Saurabh Gautam, this is Sukirti Dwivedi for NDTV.
Now, a political war has broken out in Uttar Pradesh 48 hours after students coaching for entrance exams in Prayagraj were assaulted by the police in shocking visuals that led to the suspension of 6 police officers so far. The police action came after a group of students blocked a railway track over alleged irregularities in a railway recruitment board exam. But with elections in India's most populous state just days away, it's the politics that's now taken over this incident.
सर हम लोग धरना देने नहीं गए थे सर, हम लोग अपने रूम में मतलब कि सोए हुए थे और उसके बाद पुलिस आई सर, हम लोगों का दरवाजा तोड़ने लगी। उसके बाद हम लोग दरवाजा खोले सर और वो लोग बिना सवाल जवाब किए हम लोगों के ऊपर ऐसे अटैक किए जैसे आतंकवादी के ऊपर। जैसे सर हमारे हिसाब से तो हम छात्र हैं सर, यहाँ पर लेकर पूरा किराया पर अपना रूम लेकर पढ़ रहे हैं सर, इतना पैसा बर्बाद कर रहे हैं सर, आतंकवादी तो नहीं हो सकते हैं सर, हम पढ़ रहे हैं सर, यहाँ पर तैयारी कर रहे हैं सर।
One of those assaulted by the UP police in Prayagraj on Tuesday, Ashish Yadav, in his late 20s, from eastern UP's Devariya and a lower middle class family, says he was not at the jobs protest that triggered the cops, and he repeatedly requested the police to spare him. 2 days on, there's heavy police presence and an uneasy calm at Chota Baghada, the coaching hub of Prayagraj. Today, a senior UP government minister and a possible candidate from Prayagraj said the opposition should not politicize the incident. On Tuesday, cops had barged into rooms of the students, hitting and abusing them. The police cracked down after this protest against a 2-stage railway exam, where students say the second stage is unfair to those who have cleared the first, results for which were released on January 15. Around 1.25 crore candidates had applied for the exams that advertised 35,000 posts. A bulk of the protests over this issue have taken place in Bihar, where there has been violence too. But it is the incident in Prayagraj, where polling will take place in the 5th phase, that has led to a political war of words, with elections about to start in just a few days. Most students say they are unhappy with both government actions so far. The UP government suspending 6 cops over the Prayagraj incident, and the railway minister forming a committee to investigate issues with the exam that will submit its report in March.
जानबूझ के 4 मार्च तक का समय लेना, उसके पीछे भी अगर ध्यान ये है कि उत्तर प्रदेश में तब तक चुनाव लगभग पूरे होने को होंगे, तो ये गलत बात है। ये तिकड़मबाजी आप बंद कर दीजिए। जिन बेरोजगार युवाओं पर मुकदमे किए गए हैं उनको आप वापस लें, जिनको आपकी पुलिस ने चोटिल किया है, घायल किया है, उनके इलाज का प्रबंध कराएं।
दिक्कत तो जो थी वो हो ही गई। अब भाई समय 15-20 दिन जायज़ सी बात है कि ले लेना चाहिए, लेकिन क्लियर हो जाए। बहुत सारे बच्चों का हम लोग का भविष्य अंधेरे में है इसकी वजह से।
The police have arrested 2 people so far, but say more arrests will take place only with concrete proof. As of now, students say more protests are not planned. With Nitin Gupta and camera person Rajesh Gupta, this is Alok Pandey, NDTV.
In other news now, we're proud to welcome Air India back into the Tata family after all these years. That's what N. Chandrasekaran wrote to Air India employees today after the final handover was completed with the government. He promised a golden age for the airline that was nationalized in 1953. Here's a report.
The Maharaja is now back with the Tatas.
69 years after J.R.D. Tata, the pioneer of civil aviation in the country, began Tata Airlines.
This entire 2,700 crore has been received by the government. We have transferred the shares. Entire 15,300 crore of debt which was to be retained, that has also been accepted. New board is just doing a meeting now. Okay. So we have handed them over.
The Tatas promise a return to the past, a world-class airline, but also a look at the future. Later, in a letter to Air India employees, Mr. Chandrasekaran said, "Today is the beginning of a new chapter. The entire nation's eyes are on us, waiting to see what we will achieve together. To build the airline our country needs, we need to look to the future.
We are totally delighted that this process is complete. We look forward to working with everyone to create a world-class airline.
The Tata submitted a winning bid for Air India in October for 18,000 crore rupees. They've now paid 2,700 crores in cash. They've taken over debt of 15,300 crores. On the 31st of August last year, Air India had a total debt of 61,562 crores. Of this, 46,262 crores has been transferred by the government to a special purpose vehicle. A part of that debt, which has been taken over by the government, will be serviced through the sale of Air India land and property worth at least 14,718 crore rupees. Formed by JRD Tata in 1932, Air India has been a pioneer in civil aviation. Way back in 1960, Air India inducted its first jet aircraft, a first in Asia. It started flying to New York that same year. By 1962, Air India had become the world's first all-jet airline, and in 1971 it inducted its first Boeing 747 Jumbo and introduced its Palace in the Sky livery and branding. The Air India mascot, the Maharaja, is one of India's most iconic advertising successes. But with highs came the lows. Overstaffed, debt-ridden, with collapsing service standards. The 2007 merger of Air India and Indian Airlines proved to be disastrous, with combined losses soaring to $960 million by March 2009. And once a previous attempt to disinvest the airline in 2017 fell through, it seemed Air India's days were numbered. By taking on Air India now, Ratan Tata will have fulfilled a lifelong dream, but turning around an airline that bleeds 20 crore rupees each and every day may prove to be his biggest challenge yet. With Sunil Prabhu, Vishnu Shom for NDTV.
COVID news now, and the weekend curfew has been lifted in Delhi. Odd-even curbs from markets have been removed, and restaurants and cinemas can now reopen with 50% capacity, bringing relief to businesses. But disappointment for parents as the decision on opening schools has been put off for now.
A huge economic relief for Delhi markets, restaurants and cinemas. At a meeting with Delhi's Lieutenant Governor and Chief Minister, it was decided. No more weekend curfew, no more odd-even formula for shops, restaurants and bars to open at 50% capacity, cinemas to operate at 50% capacity, 200 guests allowed at marriages, government offices to be open with 50% capacity. But other restrictions stay in place. Most importantly, schools will stay shut. This despite the Deputy Chief Minister saying an entire generation will lose out if schools stay shut now. The night curfew from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. will also stay in Delhi. The Health Minister says the situation in India's capital is now stable.
कोविड बिल्कुल कंट्रोल में है. केसेस अब 10% से भी नीचे चले गए हैं. आज जो केसेस आने वाले हैं वो 5000 से भी नीचे आएंगे और पॉजिटिविटी भी 10% से नीचे चली जाएगी.
For many like 20-year-old Rahul, a small-time shopkeeper who barely makes 10,000 rupees a month, today's decision is welcome.
कि महीने में 10 दिन काम करे, मालिक भी बोले आधा तनख्वाह दूं, आधा नहीं दूं. जिस दिन आज दिहाड़ी मिलती है तो क्या करे आदमी. इनसे बहुत परेशान है, फैमिली लेकर रहना ये दिक्कत आती है. अब प्रॉपर सैलरी चालू हो जाएगी, हर चीज पूरा मिलेगा.
For Vipin Arora, who owns an apparel showroom, the odd-even formula had severely impacted business.
ये अब थर्ड टाइम है कि जो आपका ऑड-इवन लगा रिगार्डिंग कोरोना वायरस के थ्रू, और बहुत मुश्किलें आई पीछे इन 2-3 सालों में. काम काफ़ी स्लो हुआ पीछे, और जैसे पीछे कुछ टाइम से दुकानें बंद रही, उसका भी बहुत इम्पैक्ट पड़ा हमें. स्टाफ चला गया, वापस नहीं आया गांव से. मगर आज जो गुड न्यूज़ दी है मिस्टर केजरीवाल जी ने, तो बहुत खुशी मिली है.
For Shreet Agarwal, the manager of a popular sweet shop, says he can finally welcome guests at his restaurant who prefer dine-in over takeaway.
It's a very good thing. काफ़ी टाइम से हम लोग वेट कर रहे थे कि कब मीटिंग होगी एंड कब वो लोग डिसाइड करेंगे. एंड फाइनली खुल गया है रेस्टोरेंट, क्योंकि पीपल प्रेफर मोर टू डाइन इन देन टेक अवे एंड डिलीवरीज.
The Center for Policy Research says that there is a huge learning gap that has been seen among kids because of them staying away from schools for long. Due to this pandemic, it has widened over the past 2 years, and keeping kids further away from schools will mean that an entire generation will move ahead with this learning gap.
Uganda opened on January 10. So where does that leave us? Top of the world in school closures. Every expert body, nationally and internationally, is recommending that schools be opened. So why are we lagging so far behind?
Delhi's active cases have halved in just 12 days after rising to a high of 94,160 on the 13th of January. It took 21 days for the active caseload to drop by half during the second wave last year. Delhi is reporting a decline in COVID cases. The health minister says that it is now under control. But with cinemas, bars and restaurants reopening, concerned parents ask, why not schools? In Delhi, with Sushil Rathi and Pooja Arya, Shanakshi Chakravarti for NDTV.
Now, during the health briefing today, the government said Omicron variant of COVID is now the dominant variant, and there are early indications of a plateau in the number of cases, but that rising deaths is a worry. Let's go across to Meher Pandey for more. Meher, take us through what the health ministry briefing said.
Yes, Karvi. So as you said, the ministry actually made an optimistic announcement today saying that cases may be plateauing in this wave, but they also shared data on COVID deaths, comparing the second wave to the third. But if we focus for a minute on the third wave deaths, there is a graph that shows, shared by the ministry, that shows that deaths for the past few days have been rising quite rapidly. We have been reporting this as well, more faster than for previous days. Overall, deaths in this wave are much lower than they have been for the second wave because of higher vaccination coverage, but we need to be watching out for this spike in deaths that we are seeing now. From 527 districts reporting a positivity of over 5%, there are now 551 districts. Now, this is almost the entire country going red in this graphic shared by the ministry, with a few notable pockets where positivity is still lower. This includes Eastern UP, Bihar, Jharkhand and Telangana. Epidemiologists say this is primarily due to low testing and reporting in these areas, but it may also be because they are rural areas where there is lower transmission, but vastly it's due to low testing here. So let's get a sense of which places are actually doing well right now, seeing a downward trend in cases and positivity. We're looking at weekly positivity here, and Gurugram is at 30% weekly positivity, and cases and positivity both are falling. Noida is at 27%, Bengaluru 22%, Chennai 18%, Lucknow 18% also, Delhi 15% and Mumbai 7%. All of these places are where cases and positivity are both falling. So that is a good sign. Now there are also, of course, places where cases and positivity are on the increase because the Omicron variant, the wave is moving faster, the waves are more localized. The top three places are in Kerala. Ernakulam is at 55% weekly positivity. Thiruvananthapuram is at 51%. Kozhikode is at 46%. Nagpur is at 46%. Pune at 42% and Ahmedabad at 31%. These are all places where cases and positivity are both on the increase. So everyone living here needs to be cautious, especially if they have comorbidities or they live with people who have comorbidities.
All right, Meher, thanks so much for bringing us all those details. News now from Kerala, and Congress-led United Democratic Front leaders, including former Chief Minister Chandi, met Kerala Governor Arif Muhammad Khan amid a political furor over an ordinance moved by the CPM-led government which allegedly dilutes the powers of the LOKAYUKTA, meant to probe allegations of corruption against public servants.
Kerala's opposition leaders protesting against a move by Chief Minister Pinarayi Vijayan alleging attempts to dilute the office of the corruption watchdog, the LOKAYUKTA, which investigates allegations against government servants. The cabinet has moved for an ordinance bypassing the assembly.
After completing the 22 years, now the government is saying that this is the provisions of the LOKAYUKTA Act is unconstitutional. Now they are trying to bring the amendment only to save the Chief Minister, because there are 4 cases pending against the Chief Minister.
Even CPIM's biggest ally, the CPI, has hit out at the ordinance instead of a discussion in the assembly.
അതാണ് ഇപ്പോഴത്തെ വിവാദത്തിന്റെ അടിസ്ഥാനം.
ആ നിയമസഭയിൽ ഒരു ബില്ലായി അവതരിപ്പിച്ചാൽ എല്ലാവർക്കും ഇതിനെക്കുറിച്ച് അഭിപ്രായം പറയാനുള്ള സ്വാതന്ത്ര്യം കിട്ടും. അത് നിഷേധിക്കപ്പെട്ടതാണ് ഇതിനെ സംബന്ധിച്ചിടത്തോളം ഒരു വിവാദത്തിലേക്ക് നയിച്ചത്.
The new ordinance yet to be signed by the governor proposes Lokayukta powers to be restricted to making recommendations or reports to the state government on corruption, maladministration instead of mandatory compliance. Allows the government to decide on accepting or rejecting reports by the Lokayukta even on corruption.
A semi-cozy body cannot take a decision to disqualify a constitutional authority. Constitutional provision cannot be overruled by a statute provision.
It was due to the Lokayukta finding that a minister in the earlier left government's term had to step down. While the whole debate over the so-called arbitrary use of power to check corruption is a long-standing one, the major concern here is the use of an ordinance instead of a debate in the assembly. With camera person SP Babu, Sneha Koshi for NDTV.